Practice. Good morning. My name is Ed Scott, and on behalf of First Unitarian Church of Wilmington, Delaware, I welcome you this morning, whether you're joining us from your home, online, or here in the sanctuary. Occasionally, those of us who serve as worship associates receive some feedback from you, and we welcome that. Recently, I received some feedback that said, that went something like this. Ed, when you give the welcome statement at the beginning of worship, you don't help things out because you always look so somber. And then afterwards in Parish Hall, it continues. So that sent me into a couple of weeks of self-reflection in front of a mirror. And I'm here to report back to that feedback that this is about as good as it gets. But here's the point. So no matter what your smile, you're welcome to be a part of this community. But I can't do it alone. It's going to take all of us. You need to make your welcome felt by those around you so that they experience the welcoming of this community where all are welcome to pursue their spiritual journey. Welcome regardless of their heritage, regardless of how they identify, and regardless of who they love. This morning, we're going to have the pleasure of hearing Reverend Larry's message and hear about new ways that we can experience spirituality. But first, I invite Cindy Cohen to come forward for a brief announcement.
Good morning. So I'm just here for a quickie to tell you, Broadway and fans of show tunes, you are in luck. Next Sunday, members of both the adult choir and the children's choir will present a special concert of our, and maybe your, favorite show tunes. From ragtime, Wicked, A Little Night Music, to Disney favorites, including someone we don't want to talk about. Ask your kids and grandkids, they'll know that one. And even highlights from Hamilton. We want to thank you for your generosity in contributing to this year's Counterpoint Fund, which supports this kind of special music in our church. It's not too late to give to Counterpoint. You can stop in at the table in Parish Hall. This concert next week promises to be super fun and family friendly. So next week, go have lunch after church and then come back with your kids and your grandkids at 2 o'clock for a really fun time with some really fun music, followed by our Make Your Own Sundays, ice cream sundaes. You'll want to be in the room where it happens, the room where it happens. So come on.
I have one other brief announcement, and that is today you're invited to join others at 4 p.m. in Rodney Square at a rally which will be held to end homelessness in Delaware. It's an opportunity to join others to close out Peace Week Delaware by raising our voices for the right to decent housing for all. And now, let us prepare our whole selves for worship. Our mind, our body, and our spirit.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Larry Piers, minister here at First Unitarian Church of Wilmington. I know that you know it's Clergy Appreciation Month, and you showed up because you know how much I would appreciate it. And I want to share my appreciation of two of our retired clergy in the congregation who are a big help to me. So, Reverend Richard Speck, who actually is helping out in the AV booth today, and Reverend Paula Mariano, who I don't see, who also attends and assists. So let's give them a hand. Let us worship with our eyes and ears and fingertips. Let us love the world through heart and mind and body. Let us worship, not in bowing down, not with closed eyes and stopped ears, but let us worship with the opening of all the windows of our beings, with the full outstretching of our spirits. Come, let us worship together.
If you're joining us online, I invite you to light your own chalice at home. As we light our chalice, your thoughts may be on something new, something old, maybe something known or unknown. But I ask you to take a moment to focus on the flame as it burns for us. This light, this circle is the fire of our commitment as we grow and learn to love better. And now, please rise as you were able for the singing of hymn number 18, What Wondrous Love Is This? And please remain standing afterwards for our unison affirmation. Please join me now in affirming our mission. First Unitarian Church of Wilmington is a beloved community that nourishes minds and spirits fights injustice, and transforms the world through loving action.
This week, I'm sure many of our hearts have been breaking as we've observed the events happening in Israel, Palestine, and Gaza. There's no explanation for some of the atrocities that have existed through terrorism. There's no way to dismiss how revenge can sometimes also be non-humanitarian. So our hearts break. We hold too much in this world, and we cannot hold it alone. Words cannot express. And so I want this water, this salted water, to represent for us the tears of the children who have died, the tears of grandmothers and grandfathers who have died, the tears of those who have been held captive, the tears of those who are mourning the dead, the tears of those who have been wounded, the tears of everyone in the region who live in fear and uncertainty, and our tears for a world that we care about and where we wish to have more peace. May it be so. We also take a time in our service to attend to whatever concerns we have in our own heart for ourselves, for those we love, or for our world. So let's take a moment and attend to our own heart, and then I will invite you to speak aloud in the room or write in the chat those concerns. But first, let's take a moment to listen to the concerns of our heart. What burdens are you holding in your heart this day? What concerns are you carrying into this place? For these concerns, let us know that we need not hold them alone, but alongside of one another, to feel the strength and to experience the compassion that we can give to this world. Are there some joys that are lightening your heart on this day? Is there a joy somewhere in there that wants to be expressed? And if so, you may speak it aloud now in this room. Great to see you, Francine. Yeah. Oh, okay. May all whose names were spoken and those unspoken find peace and healing this day.
Please join me in this morning's reading, which is responsive. It's based on Ralph Waldo Emerson's The Oversoul. Your responses as the congregation will appear on the screen. Let us learn the revelation of all nature and thought, that the highest dwells within us, that the sources of nature are in our own minds.
As there is no screen or ceiling between our heads and the infinite heavens, so there is no bar or wall in the soul where we, the effect, cease, and God, the cause, begins.
I am constrained every moment to acknowledge a higher origin for events than the will call mine.
There is a deep power in which we exist, and whose beatitude is accessible to us.
Every moment when the individual feels invaded by it is memorable.
It comes to the lowly and simple. It comes to whosoever will put off what is foreign and proud. It comes as insight. It comes as serenity and grandeur.
The soul's health consists in the fullness of its reception.
Forever and ever, the influx of this better and more universal self is new and unsearchable.
Within us is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty to which every part and particle is equally related, the eternal one.
When it breaks through our intellect, it is genius. When it breathes through our will, it is virtue. When it flows through our affections, it is love. Walden Pond is a sanctuary of sorts. How many of you have ever been there? Okay, great. It's a place where I've taken sauntering walks and sat at the pond's edge for reflection or journal writing. I even performed a wedding there one spring day. For me, it's a touchstone place, a physical place for sure, with all the changes and seasons and that seasons and weather bring. And over the 30 years that I lived in Boston and on occasional visits since then, I have seen both the transient and the permanent aspects of this area, some of which you have seen just now in the video. Walden Pond has also become a place where I can touch in and ask myself that perennial question: how is it with my soul? Now, soul may be a challenging word for some, since it retains some residue of meaning from prior religious trainings or outworn metaphysics for others. I don't mean that kind of soul. In fact, it was just down the road from Walden Pond that I learned to appreciate and use the word soul. I was studying spiritual psychology at the Concord Institute in a professional program that Thomas Yeomans facilitated for therapists and others interested in incorporating more soul work or more spirituality into their work. In his most recent book, Holy Fire, The Process of Soul Awakening, Yeomans offers what I feel is a practical and a useful understanding of soul. So I'll share a snippet of it now. He writes, "Soul is who we are at the deepest level of our being. It is a guiding and sustaining presence within our experiences and our lives, and our lives can be conceived as setting out, knowingly or unknowingly, to find and to nourish the source and force within us, and to work out the ways to express it." So given that definition, I might ask each of us, how is it with your soul? I had the joy of reconnecting with Tom this summer, now in his 80s, and we had lunch together. It was time for my sharing gratitude for his work, his most recent book, and for reminiscing on some of the understandings that took seed in me so many years ago, and I've noticed have continued to blossom. So Henry David Thoreau, who spent more time than I at the shores of Walden Pond, in fact, in his book Walden, or Life in the Woods, records he was there for 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days to take stock of his own soul. He shared why he went there in this familiar quote: "I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not yet lived. I did not wish to live what was not life. Living is so dear, nor did I wish to practice resignation, unless it was quite necessary. I wanted to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life." I wish for each of us that same conviction about living deliberately, whatever age or stage in life we happen to be in. And I pray for this congregation to live deliberately as well. National and world events should awaken us to the fact that this is not a time for a casual life or a casual faith or a casual congregation. We need to feel the lure of that which wants to break forth in us and through us. I am needed, you are needed, we are needed to show up in some deliberate ways, if indeed we are to embody our collective calling that we rededicate ourselves to each Sunday, to be a beloved community that nourishes minds and spirits, fights injustice, and transforms the world through loving action. That requires being deliberate, my friends. To be present to ourselves, to each other, and to our world in this way requires constant tending and intentional cultivating of the soul, the strength of the soul. It requires us to be renewed from within, and it means to find the right balance between action and contemplation. I recently came across this explanation of why this balance between action and contemplation are so necessary. The author writes, "Contemplation in non-mystified language is the ability to meet reality in its most simple and direct form." I'm going to reread that sentence. Contemplation is the ability to meet reality in its most simple and direct form. When I let go of my judgments, my agenda, my emotive life, my attachment to my positive or negative self-image, I am naked, poor, and ready for the big truths. Without some form of contemplative surrender, I see little hope for breakthrough, for new ground, for moving beyond ideology, he writes, moving beyond the small mind and the clutching ego. And then he adds, action without contemplation is the work of hamsters and gerbils. It gets us through the day. It gives us a temporary sense of movement, but the world is not made new by spinning wheels going nowhere. Can I hear an amen? So we must each in our own way find ways to create space both for contemplation and action. One without the other does not make us fully present to ourselves or to our world. In last Sunday's sermon, I offered similar advice from Valerie Kaur's directive. If we are to be midwives to the birthing of this world that wants to happen in this era, we must first breathe, and then we must push. So, for Thoreau, nature was his companion in contemplation. Nature was his wisdom teacher in this venture to live deliberately and to be alive. Thoreau understood a correspondence between nature and human beings that caused him to experience nature as an inner experience as much as an outer one. On reflecting upon this aspect of Thoreau, one writer says, "The laws that structured the natural world," Thoreau believed, "also structured human consciousness and defined human action. The inner life was therefore inextricably tied to the life of nature." Thoreau, for example, was captivated by trees. He knew trees as his teachers. Although he called the shedding of trees each day a tragedy, he knew that the leaves fell to the ground would enrich the soil and in time stoop and rise in new trees. By falling so airily, so contently, he said, they teach us how to die. For Thoreau, trees bore witness to the holy and emerged in his writings as special emblems and images of the divine. For Thoreau, nature was the scripture of all nations, available to all and not constrained by culture or circumstance. Now, some of us, I know, have been awakened in our experiences within nature. Some of us have been recharged by other experiences of awakening within life, of experiencing the wonder of life itself and the mystery and the beauty of being alive. We recognize that our Unitarian Universalist living tradition of wisdom and spirituality is drawn from sources as diverse as science and poetry and literature and scripture and personal experience. And our Unitarian Universalist heritage acknowledges these seemingly transcendent moments, however fleeting, as a source of wisdom and renewal available to us all. In our sources of the living tradition, we affirm that one of the sources of our religion making is, as we say, direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. I know this experientially, and I know many of us do as well. Now, direct experience of that mystery and wonder can seem kind of esoteric and ethereal, but in fact, though not often discussed, it is the experience of many, even many who have not yet found words to give it expression. I've been intrigued for some years by the research on spiritual experiences in the brain, and have for some years followed Andrew Newberg, a neuroscience at Thomas Jefferson University and Hospital in Philadelphia. In a recent book, The Varieties of Spiritual Experiences, 21st Century Research in Perspective, Newberg and his co-author, David Yaden, have updated some of William James's 19th century research captured in his classic book, The Varieties of Religious Experience. Taking James's pragmatic approach and also adopting James's research orientation, that is to say, leaning towards, not leaning towards or advocating for a particular religious point of view or conclusion, Yaden and Newberg have utilized contemporary survey methods and neuroimaging technologies to discover what actually happens in the brain of those who have spiritual experiences or who engage in spiritual practices. The evidence is clear that the brain changes, that people are changed. Like William James, a medical doctor, Yaden and Newberg are interested in the fruits of the impact of these experiences in addition to the experiences themselves. Now, to clarify, spiritual experiences for them can include all religious experiences as well as the large variety of other experiences that might be referred to as religious, spiritual, or even in secular terms. In fact, as Yaden and Newberg point out, even a number of atheists such as Bertrand Russell, Sam Harris, and Barbara Ehrenreich have had experiences that they refer to as spiritual or mystical, despite their lack of supernatural beliefs. So what are some of the examples of this? I'll use one of the accounts that they cite. So one person wrote, "I felt myself one with the grass, the trees, birds, insects, everything in nature. I exalted the mere fact of existence, of being part of it all. I knew so well the satisfaction of losing self in a perception of supreme power and love." Barbara Ehrenreich, who some of us know for her writings about politics and social welfare and class, women's health, and other women's issues, such as her best-selling book, Nickel and Dimed, Not Getting By in America, also surprised and maybe even stunned some people in her book, Living with a Wild God, a non-believer's search for the truth about everything. In the book by Barbara, this person who describes herself as a, quote, rationalist, a scientist by training, and an atheist who is the daughter of atheists, unquote, while preparing for a move, she started to review some of the journals that she had written throughout her life. and came across some particular journals of her time as a teenager and some experiences that she had tucked away, had not really talked about or re-explored. So she shares this one particular experience that she had written about. I was just staring at the woods when something happened. It's like a layer peeled off the world, the layer that contains all the meanings, the words, the language, the associations we have. Yeah, I was looking at the trees, but I no longer could say I knew exactly what a tree was, with all the knowledge and experience that goes into our notion of a tree. As scientists, Yaden and Newberg take a middle ground between those who claim that their experiences definitely connect them with God or some spiritual source, and those who dismiss such experiences as delusional or even mentally unstable. They take the experiences at face value, and they explore with the person who has experienced them what the meaning is that they give to them, and what the impact it actually has on them physiologically as well as psychologically and spiritually. So rather than dismiss these experiences, which some say are more real than real, their research questions include these, and using their words, given our advances in the sciences of the brain, the mind, and behavior over the past century, and the diminished reliance on entirely religious explanations, how can contemporary people make sense of these experiences? Another question that they focus on is, do such experiences still have validity and worth in an increasingly secular world? What has modern science revealed about these experiences? And how might we categorize these experiences in terms of their content and their intensity? So the impact in our lives is apparent and personal. For many, these experiences happen in a fleeting moment, but are remembered for a lifetime. For many, these direct experiences hold much meaning than many words could ever convey. For many, these experiences are the most direct experiences of grace and awe, wonder, or the divine that don't require beliefs. They just know. For some, the best expression of their direct experience is through writing poetry or making art or music. I personally feel that sometimes our souls are infused with a peace, sometimes infused with an experience of beauty, with a sense of wonder that seems transcendent at the time. But then we are brought back to earth and back to life in some lingering ways that we may be caused to engage with life more deliberately rather than on the surface of things. The new course that I began facilitating this past week, taking a journey with the Transcendentalists, we're exploring the perspectives and practices of those upstart Unitarians of their day, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, and Margaret Fuller, who felt that the typical church needed more feeling, more spirit, more direct experience of the divine in everyday life. They felt a need to expand upon the overly rational tendencies and stiltedness of the Unitarians of their day. Of course, we're all over that now, right? For them, this pursuit was not just philosophy, not just talk. No, they also engaged in daily practices to help them cultivate their soul. This cultivation of their soul led not to mere introspection, but to a deeper expression of their efforts in literary achievements, social experiments such as the communities of Brook Farm and Fruitlands, kind of utopian communities, and various social reform movements of their time, the abolitionist movement, the women's suffragist movement, economic justice for the poor and working classes, service to immigrants, and education, to name a few. And for those who were so inclined, a reform of the church as well. Those who are engaged in our monthly Soul Matters groups may not always understand that what they are doing is cultivating their soul. However, the discipline it takes to ask questions of oneself, to infuse one's soul with a particular quality each month through the focus on a theme and through a practice for the month, a specific activity or art making, is an opportunity to listen to the deepest level of our being, to listen to our soul. And what's nice is being able to do it with others in a monthly group. So shout out to Nancy Pinson for all the help that she gives us in terms of organizing those groups. So as we embrace and live out our mission more deliberately, we need to draw upon all the experiences available to us to not just cultivate our soul, but also to strengthen it. We need not repress the sublime in order to engage with the mundane and the enormous challenges of our time. We need both. In our closing hymn this morning, "The Morning Hangs a Signal," was written by a Unitarian minister, William Channing Gannett, who was an abolitionist, a supporter of women's rights. And it contains these verses that speak to us of the connection between the sublime and the mundane, the mystical and the prophetic. "The morning hangs a signal upon the mountain crests, while all the sleeping valleys in silent darkness rest. From peak to peak it flashes, it laughs along the sky, till glory of the sunlight and all the land shall lie. Above the generations the lonely prophets rise, while truth flares as the day star within their glowing eyes. And other eyes beholding are kindled from that flame, and dawn becomes the morning, when prophets love proclaim. The soul has lifted moments. The soul has lifted moments above the drift of days, when life's great meaning breaketh in sunrise on our ways. Behold, the radiant token of faith above all fear. Night shall release its splendor, that morning shall appear." So may it be.
For your convenience this morning, the various ways to give will be displayed on the screen in the front of the sanctuary during the offertory music. This morning, I want you to think about what are your best moments here at First U. Take a moment to reflect on that. Think about what it takes to sustain those moments, those experiences for you and for others. In many instances, it takes a lot of time, a lot of commitment, a lot of fellowship, and in other cases, continued financial support. That's where each of us come in. As we consider our offering this Sunday, let's sustain our individual vision and our collective vision. And I thank you for your vision and your generosity. And now, please join me in dedicating our offering in response to our vision together to the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action. We dedicate our lives and these our offerings. This month's Soul Matters theme, as many of you know, is heritage. So as we extinguish the flame of the chalice, we are reminded of its heritage, which is ours, and the symbolism as a beacon of safety, welcome, and freedom, in particular, religious freedom. The two circles around the chalice represent the faith traditions of Unitarianism and Universalism since their merger in 1961. We extinguish the flame, but not the heritage and the freedom of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of our commitment within our community and beyond, which we carry forward in our hearts.
So, we're having an open house to the greater community of Wilmington on Sunday, November 5th, during that service. We would like for you to bring a friend or bring a friend or invite a friend to join you on that Sunday. Now, we realize that inviting someone is not always an easy or comfortable thing to do, right? So, we wanted to give you some examples of what to do, what not to do, and what probably won't happen. So I'd like to invite Dan Chakala up to help demonstrate. Now, Dan, can you pretend with me that you've never been to a Unitarian Universalist congregation, that you don't know I'm a Unitarian Universalist minister, and we're just hanging out?
Sure. Luckily, I brought my mic with me. So
Okay, great. Hi,
oh,
Dan.
Wow. Okay. Oh, hey, Lair Bear. How you doing?
I'm doing well. So I wanted to invite you to my church.
Church! Whoa, hey, yo, no one's always about church in my house. You get out of here! Get out of my house talking about church! Wow, I didn't think I would get applause for that. Not gonna lie, I probably wouldn't do that. I legitimately do have some angst about my church and all that, but worst you would get out of me, and probably anyone else here, if someone didn't like what you were saying, is just kind of politely nodding, smiling, hoping for you to shut up, but not brooms and swiping away. So Larry, why don't you come back? I'll unarm myself.
All right.
And we'll take it from the top. Maybe a little more realistic that time, sorry.
Okay, let's give it another try.
I just keep looking over. Should I There we go.
I don't know, I'm looking at the teleprompter and they keep not.
There's a teleprompter in my house? Okay.
All right, so one of the things, please advance the slides. Okay.
That's my bad. I'm going a little off script in case you can't tell.
Please advance the slide, thank you. Okay, well, there's this community that I'm kind of a part of, and we're sort of having this event at our an open house. And I was thinking that maybe you could, perhaps, if it's not too much trouble, join us on a Sunday, if Sunday's okay. What do you think about that?
Yeah, sure. I guess I'll maybe perhaps go to whatever you just said. Sure, whatever.
Okay, great, I think.
All right, so that wouldn't work for me. I don't know. I think a lot of us Unitarian Universalists are maybe a little too nice to a fault. Maybe we're a little too worried about getting the broom waved at you or what have you. The broom in your brain. But that probably wouldn't happen. So, don't soft pedal it. I heard a quote recently that's really haunted me, that a liberal is someone who's so fair-minded that they won't even take their own side in an argument. Sounds like someone you know based on that reaction. So, you don't have to worry about, I know we're all worried about, we don't want to be evangelical, we don't want to proselytize, all that stuff, but just don't say they're going to hell and you're off to a good start. And yeah, so my 2023 goals, don't know about you, has really been to grow a spine, Dan, really stand up for yourself. And inviting someone, this invitation is an opportunity to stand up for your community, which is an opportunity to stand up for your values by extension and for yourself, really. So if you want to try that.
Let's give it another try.
All right.
Okay. So one of the things that you want to keep in mind is making a connection about something you know about the person and something that's true about our congregation. Okay? So Dan, I know that you really care about service in the community.
Connection.
So what I'd like to, I belong to a congregation that also cares about the community and doing good and making a difference in the community. And I know that you're not really into religion that much. Well, we are a community that accepts various ideas about religion. We have discussions about them. People have various points of view about God or religious topics and care about things in the world. And what's important to us is that we engage with one another, that we have a dialogue, because we're all enriched by those conversations that we could have. So I wonder if you might join me on Sunday, November 5th, so that you can meet this community, this congregation I'm talking about.
Yeah, man, that sounds awesome. I wish I heard about this place sooner, honestly.
Great. All right.
Can I give it a try?
Sure. Go ahead.
All right. Susan. Hey, I know, you don't have to come. It's all right. I'll just shout from you from across our imaginary house for some reason. So I know that, with everything crazy going on with the U.S. and all that since 2016, you've been kind of looking for a bit of a community, and you thought maybe you could, lean on the church that you grew up in, but I noticed that you haven't really been jiving with them. Maybe their values aren't quite conforming to what you've got going on and so forth. Luckily, I've got the church that I go to, First Unitarian. I think the values are going to be perfect for you. I think they're very inclusive of everyone from all backgrounds and so forth. So I thought maybe you could perhaps, if you might. would you please join me November 5th, 10:30 for an open house? All right, cool.
Great.
Got another one, Larry.
Let me try another one. Stephanie, I know that you are someone who loves to read, loves to discuss a variety of ideas and perspectives. Well, in our congregation, every Sunday from our pulpit, we have lots of discussions and presentations on ideas. We have small groups in our congregation. We have book groups. We have opportunities for adults to learn and engage with one another, and also opportunities for children and youth. And I think there's lots of people there that you might enjoy meeting. So would you come with me on Sunday, November 5th, to our open house? I'd like to introduce you to my congregation and to some people who I think you might enjoy.
Cool. Did you want to say that line that says Larry up there?
Okay, I'll do it. So, here's your assignment. Think about someone that you would like to invite to join you or invite to come to our congregation on Sunday, November 5th. At our 10:30 service, we'll have some food available, we'll have an Introducing Unitarian Universalism event, and we'll have a typical service. Think about it right now before I move on. Think about someone. And take a moment between now and Sunday, November 5th, to make that invitation. Will you give it a try? Okay.
All right, so that's the assignment, is to invite a friend, bring them directly. You can get a little extra credit if you wanted to share the event, invite some people, so forth. It can be a little sticky, a little tricky with Facebook and all that sort of stuff, so if anyone has any questions, you can come to me. Maybe we'll pop some instructions into the e-news, or maybe if I wasn't too harsh to Larry, he'll invite me back up here sometime to show it off a little bit.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dan. So our benediction is from Theodore Parker, one of the transcendentalists, who was also a very advocate of abolition of slavery. Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere, its temple all space, its shrine the good heart, its creed all truth, its ritual works of love, its profession of faith, divine living. Now let's join together in our closing hymn.
Mountain crest.